本日はお忙しい中ご参加い
Thank you
ただ
very
き、
much for sparing
誠にあり
your
がとうござい
time
ます。
to join us here today.
ただいまより
We'd now like to begin Honda Motor Company Limited FY 2025 third quarter financial results briefing.
を開始いたします。まずはじめに
Allow me first to introduce the executives in attendance. Director, Executive Vice President, and Representative Executive Officer, Shinji Aoyama. How do you do? Director, Managing Executive Director, and CFO, Eiji Fujimura. Thank you very much. First, Mr. Aoyama will overview the FY25 third quarter financial results and FY25 full-year consolidated forecasts, followed by Mr. Fujimura's explanation on the details. Mr. Aoyama, the floor is yours. And thank you for your continued support for Honda's business activities. Thank you very much. And let me explain the financial results for the FY 2025 third quarter. First, let me highlight the key points. The FY 2025 third quarter cumulative operating profit was 1,139.9 billion yen, with an operating profit margin of 7.0%. In motorcycle business, sales volume remained strong globally, and third quarter cumulative total was 15.5 million units. In automobile business, consolidated unit sales volume decreased by 297,000 units year-on-year, despite solid sales in North America due to drop in Asia, mainly China. Operating cash flow after R&D adjustment, representing funding for future investments, remained at the same level year-on-year at 1,945 billion yen. The FY25 consolidated financial forecasts are unchanged. Operating profit, 1,420 billion yen. Profit for the year, 950 billion yen. Motorcycle unit sales has been revised upward to a record high due to strong global sales. Automobile operations, mainly due to decline in Japan, is revised downward to 3.75 million units. However, due to rise in motorcycle sales and exchange rate, operating profit and profit for the year forecasts remain unchanged. A resolution was made on December 23, 2024 to repurchase 1.1 trillion yen worth of company shares. 184.9 billion yen has been acquired as of January 31, 2025. We will work to complete repurchase of 1.1 trillion yen in shares. Next, the situation in the major markets. Regarding motorcycle operations, due to strong demand in India and Brazil combined with economic recovery in Vietnam, sales exceeded the same period last year. Automobile business saw an increase in Japan and the United States, but due to the severe market environment in China, total sales dropped year-on-year. In Japan, sales volume in the third quarter was lower than the same period last year due to fierce competition, amongst others. The cumulative consolidated financial results for FY25 third quarter is as follows. Operating profit increased by 63.5 billion yen year-on-year, totaling 1,139.9 billion yen. Equity method investment profit decreased by 94.5 billion yen, a loss of 27.2 billion yen. Profit for the period attributable to owners of the parent company was 805.2 billion yen, down 64.3 billion yen. Consolidated financial forecast for the fiscal year ending March 2025. We maintain our previous forecast for both operating profit at 1,420 billion yen and current profit attributable to owner of the parent company 950 billion yen. Exchange rate assumption is 152 yen against the dollar for the fourth quarter and full year. The forecast for the annual dividend remains at 68 yen, unchanged from the previous announcement. Additionally, a resolution was made on December 23, 2024 to repurchase 1.1 trillion yen worth of company shares. As of January 31, 2025, 184.9 billion yen has been acquired. Cumulative FY 2025 total of acquired shares is 472 billion yen. Mr. Fujimura will present the details of the financial results.
I'll explain the results of the third quarter. Regarding the cumulative unit sales until the third quarter FY March 2025 of the group, for the motorcycle segment, due to the year-on-year increase mainly in Asia, 15,508,000 units sold for automobile segments due to decrease in Asia, mainly China. 2,817,000 units sold, and for power products segments due to decrease mainly in Europe, 2,516,000 units were sold. Consolidated financial results of the cumulative 3 quarters were explained already. Next, I'll explain factors of ups and downs of profit before income taxes of a cumulative 9 months year-on-year. Operating profit increased by 63.5 billion yen year-on-year because of the following factors. Regarding sales impact, profit increased due to the rise in sales unit. However, incentives went up. Thus, the profit was squeezed by 104.3 billion yen. Regarding price cost impact, thanks to the pricing that commensurate the improved product values, profit increased by 376 billion yen. Regarding expenses, due to incremental labor and subcontractor costs, profit squeezed by 54.3 billion yen. R&D cost increased 97.5 billion yen downward impact on profit, and the currency effects squeezed the profit by 56.3 billion yen. Profit before income taxes were down by 38.9 billion yen because of the profit of equity method declined due to a drop of the unit sales in China and so on, although operating profit itself increased. Regarding the operating profit by segments, 501.6 billion yen for motorcycle business, and 402.6 billion for automotive, and 244.9 billion yen for financial service businesses, and power products and other businesses made losses of 9.3 billion yen. Next are the cash flows. Free cash flows from the businesses excluding financial services businesses were 693.7 billion yen during the first 9 months cumulative of the FY March 25. Net cash at the end of the quarter was 3.7789 trillion yen. Operating cash flows after R&D adjustment were 1.945 trillion yen. Next, I'll explain consolidated business forecast of FY March 2025. Regarding the projection of the group's unit sales versus the previous forecast, unit sales of the motorcycle will be 20.6 million, mainly reflecting the increase in Asia. And units of the automobiles will be 3.75 billion, mainly reflecting the decline in Japan. And those of power products businesses will stay at 3.66 million, same as the last forecast. I've covered the forecast of the consolidated performance of the FY March 2025. Next, let me explain factors behind changes in profit before income taxes year-on-year basis. Operating profit will be up by 38 billion yen year-on-year. The breakdown of the differences will be regarding the sales impact. Although the incremental unit sales will push up the profit, however, the higher incentives and so forth will squeeze the profit by 198 billion. Regarding price cost impact, pricing reflecting product value improvement and so on will add profits by 535 billion yen. Expenses will increase by 73.5 billion, squeezing the profit, and R&D cost will increase by 125 billion yen, squeezing the profit too. And the currency effects will impact negatively on profit by 100.5 billion yen. Although operating profit itself increased, the profit before income taxes will drop by 177.3 billion, reflecting a decline in profit of equity method because of the reduction in unit sales in China. Next, let me explain the differences in comparison to the previous forecast. We will keep the same operating profit of the previous guidance, of which the breakdowns will be motorcycle sales will increase. However, the unit of automobiles will reduce. Thus, the sales impact will squeeze the profit by 27.5 billion yen. Price cost will squeeze the profit by 15 billion yen. Expenses will increase by 5 billion yen, reducing the profit, and the currency effects will push up the profit by 47.5 billion yen. Profit before impact taxes, before income taxes will be expected to be higher by 30 billion yen, reflecting yen depreciation causing forex gains. Lastly, this is a forecast for capital expenditures, depreciation, and R&D spending. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your listening. And now we'd like to proceed to Q&A. As we have pre-informed, we will be taking questions via Zoom. Currently, we are receiving a number of inquiries regarding our business integration. However, those questions will be addressed when our president holds the news conference from 4:50 p.m. So we would like you to refrain from asking questions related to business integration and focus solely on the financial results-related questions. We ask for your understanding and cooperation. Those of you who have questions, please use the raise hand button. Due to the time limitation, we would like you to limit your questions to 2 per person. When asking a question, please turn on both your camera and microphone. First question from Toyo Keizai, and Mr. Yokoyama, please. And this is Yokoyama from Toyo Keizai. Can you hear me now? Yes. Thank you. I have 2 questions. First, about the full year, the 4 quarters plan. The third quarter is about operating profit 410, and you deduct the 280 billion for the fourth quarter. So what is the reason for the decline? And I'm asking the same question. I think it's related to the expenses. But compared to the past plans, please talk about the risks and opportunities. And so that is my question. And I'd like to proceed to the next question. But in the interim announcement, you talked about the EV incentives to quite an extent. And I think there was a 100 billion increase from the original plan. And the third quarter, after the third quarter, as of February right now, North American incentive, how much increase are you seeing? And are you seeing that the incentive costs are increasing? And I think that the consolidated for automotive is declining. So please explain about the incentives in North America. Thank you. Mr. Yokoyama. I think you've asked 2 questions, but first about the fourth quarter plan, and the third quarter actual compared to the actual third quarter, we are asking about what about the fourth quarter. That was my understanding of the question here. But basically, speaking, that the fourth quarter, well, it's the end of our fiscal year, and what increases is especially the R&D area and also SGA. And because it's the end of the fiscal year, there are a number of things that are paid out and delivered to us. So there's an increase in expenditure. And therefore, in the fourth quarter, it tends to be the SGA and R&D. They tend to be, well, roughly speaking, one stage higher. Well, it's 390 or a little less than 400 billion for the third quarter operating profit. But most of that is SGA and R&D. So I think that those are the main ones. What North American incentive-related items, well, slightly, the procurement cost is, in some cases, in other words, the finance business I'm talking about here, the procurement cost is increasing, but that's included. But it's mostly the SGA and R&D that will explain the numbers for the fourth quarter. Now, about North America and the intensive in North America. Well, it has increased slightly now, but the procurement cost is slightly higher, and this is also reflected partially. And in total, I think that it's just a marginal increase as a total, that is. And because we're talking about North America on the whole, and the incentives of North America on the whole, but the EV incentives, if you just focus on EV incentives, in the second quarter, in the first half, I said there will be for full year an impact of 100 billion yen. And just talking about that part, I do think that the number has slightly declined. In other words, we were able to reduce the incentives. But because of the sales unit volume and also the production, well, these are products being produced at GM, and the production, there is an adjustment in the supply, and therefore the final vis-a-vis the supply, we have tried to reduce the supply, and therefore there is the need to make payments or discuss the possibility of making payments for compensation, etc. And therefore, in the fourth quarter, these things could turn out to be on the negative side. But right now, we don't have any numbers at hand, and therefore they're not reflected right now. But there are the possibility of such negative factors in the fourth quarter. Is there any additional explanation? Well, yes, about the fourth quarter. Well, to begin with, compared to the original plan, I think you were asking what it looks like right now. But for the full year forecast, the exchange rate, we've changed it to 152 yen. But we still have 1,420 billion operating profit, and it has been covered, offset by the motorcycle, but and it has not been fully offset for the automotive, and therefore for the full year, it in fact, substance will be a negative. But the third quarter, the motorcycle business did offset the automotive business, and there was the weakening of the yen, and there was about 30 billion yen compared to the budget add-on in the third quarter. So the full year negative has been skewed to the fourth quarter, and that is the difference between the last time and this time. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yokoyama. Next question. Asahi Shimbun newspaper, Mr. Nishiyama, please.
はい、朝日新聞西山ですけども、
Nishiyama
聞こえ
from
ていますで
Asahi
しょうか。
Shimbun. Can you
はい、
hear
聞こえ
me?
ております。お願い
Yes,
します。
はい、
please.
ありがとうございます。ご説明ありがとうござ
So
いまし
thank you
た。
for the explanation.
私からも
And
2
I
点
have two
お願いいたし
questions.
ます。まず1点目なんですが、
First
先ほど
one,
の質
earlier
問でも少し聞き及び
the
が
question was
され
already
ているところ
covering
だ
this
と思うん
point,
ですけれども、四輪
which
の
is
利益率という
automobile
か、
business
平
profitability
年に比べて
as
予想
compared to
外の利益が
motorcycles.
すごく
In a way,
高かった
motorcycle business is
いうところ
very
もあると思うんですけ
good.
れども、
That is
四輪の利益率を
the
改
factor
善
behind.
するために
However,
ですね、
in order
今
to
後
improve the profitability of the
どういう
automobile
お話を
businesses, of course, there could be another separate discussion about business integration, so on and forth. But what is your
もう一
measures
点がですね、
for improving
前回の
profitability of
中
the
間決算の
cars?
時に
And
ちょう
then
ど
in the
トラ
last
ンプ政権の環
presentation,
境と
and that time around, there was
エクア
a
ドア、メキシコについ
Trump's
て関税引き
administration
上げを
topics
提
talked
出とい
about
う
a
ような
lot, and
実行
then
をして、現状1
a
ヶ月
tariff
と
for
いうような形
Canada
です
and
から、今
Mexico
後
is
い
to
つ
be
再度
risen.
発動
Of
する
course,
か
it is
というの
frozen
を考
for a
えた
month,
時
but
なん
we
で
don't
すが、
know when
どうい
it
った
will
対
be
応を考えていらっしゃるか、また
coming
今
back
後さ
again.
ら
And
に
what is your measure
この
against
フェー
that?
ズの
And
影響が
once
どこ
the
まで
tariff
及ぶ
is
かという
in
点に
place,
つい
what
て
is the
よ
impact on
ろ
your
しくお願いいたしま
businesses?
す。
はい、西山様、
Thank you very
ご
much,
質問ありがと
Mr.
うございます。
Nishiyama.
四輪の利益率
So,
について
profitability of the
なんですけれ
automobile
ども、
businesses.
これまず足
To start
元
with
の今
our
年度の
recent
収益、
situation,
ど
the
のような
revenue
観
for
点で申
this
しますと、
year,
決して確かにご指摘のように
looking
二輪
at
など
that
比べますと
revenue, of course, that may look a little lower, especially in comparison to that of motorcycle business. However, in order to give you the
いわゆるバッテリー
precise
に
answer,
かかるところ
for
の
instance,
この
battery
開発
EV development
ある
cost
いはバッテリー EV っていうのは
and
まだ北米、中国で
battery
まだまだ
EVs
少量しか売り上げが現実的にはないわけです
sales
けれども、
volume is not so high in North America and in China. However,
事業
if
並びに
battery
そこに
EV
今特化して
businesses
いる
and
開発の
those investment in the
いったところを
development for
仮に
that
控除
is
するとですね、残りは
deducted
ガ
from
ソリン
that,
車の
the
ハイブリ
remainder
ッドも
will
含め
be
た
the
ガソリン車の利益率になる
ICE
わけ
and
ですけれども、
hybrid
今その部分
businesses.
だけで実は申します
And
と、これ偶
for
然
that
とあま
part
り
alone,
どうでしょうか、前年度と大きく変わってない
actually,
と思い
the
ますけれ
situation
ど
for
も、
that part
およ
is
そ
not so
利益
different
率利
from
益
the
率
previous
8%
term.
ほど
The
ございます。
profitability
したが
is
って
about
そのガソ
8%
リ
for
ン、
that
ハイブリッ
part.
ドを中心としたガソ
Therefore,
リン車
hybrid
の
and
稼
then
ぐ力というのは
gasoline-based
従
engine
来と比較
cars
すると
have
かなり改善しているというのが今の
profitability that is
基
far
本的な、まあ、
improved
全体像になって
from
い
the
るというふうにご
previous
理解をいただけ
situation.
る
That
と
is
思いま
a
す。
kind of overall
一方
picture.
でバッテリー EV につい
And
ては
battery
今
EVs,
まさしく仕込んでいるというとこ
we
ろ
are
の段階であり
preparing
まして、
for the
ま
business
あ、ア
of
メリカで申しますと
battery EVs now. For
GM に生産を
instance,
いただくものからスタートし、
GM
いよ
production,
い
that
よ
was the
今
starting
年
point
度では
for
なく
North
来
America.
年度です
And
ね、
then
いよいよ来年度
right next
ま
fiscal
あ
year,
私どもが直接
we
開
are
発
going
した
to
車を生産販売
produce and
を
launch
北米
the cars that we
に展開してい
developed
くわ
by
けですけれど
ourselves in
も、
North
足
America
元の
and
今見えて
US.
る画面
And
でいうと
as
決して
of
その事業性が
today,
高いものには
I
な
wouldn't
らな
say
いという
that
のが
that
現
will
在でありまし
be
て、た
making
だこれもですね、
a very good business right at the
次
start.
の世代の仕
However,
込みも含めてですが、
including the preparation for the
来年
next
度から
gen
投入す
cars,
る車の
we
さ
are
らな
going
る事
to
業性の改善といったところですね、
improve
当然
the
開発
businesses
活動を
of
か
the
けながら、
upcoming
あるい
models,
手掛
and
け
we
ながら
will
やっておりま
spend
すので、
the
そういったところはですね、
development
徐々に良くな
efforts
っていく
with
見通しで
investment,
見ており
which
ます。
will
で、もう少
improve
し四
the
輪の利益率について、
situation
まあ、先ほ
furthermore.
ど
And
で申しま
then
すと、
profitability of the automobile
27
businesses
モデルイヤーぐらいからです
from
ね、
this model years 27 onward.
昨年の12月にも皆様にも
We
ご
already
説明した
explained
ハ
that
イブ
in
リッドはですね、
December
次
last
世代
year.
の展開が
Next
27年
generation
モデルぐらい、
hybrid
26年
starting
初回
around
から
middle
始まって
year
まいります。
26 or
これは今のハイ
27.
ブリッドよりもさらに
And
事業性を改善した、
the
もちろんそ
hybrid
の事
in
業性だ
those
けではな
years
くて
will
商
be
品
of
性も
much
大幅に
higher
上げた商品実
profitability,
績
and
を持っており
also
ますので、
commercial
そういっ
values
たと
of
ころに
those
よって
will
で
be
すね、
much better.
より今申し上げ
And
たそのガソリ
with
ンハイブリ
them
ッドを含め
in
たガソリン
place,
車の仕事も上がっていくと
it
いう
will
ような今位置づけ
improve
で考えて
the
います。
profitability of the
で、
entire
トランプ
businesses,
政権
including
につき
ICE
ましては、
cars and the
まあ
hybrid. And then
3
Trump
月1日以降どうなっていく
administration,
かっていうのは、その
after
過
the
程のご
March
説明という
1st,
ことではありますが、
the the question is still hypothetical, I should say. However, if I want to try to answer your question squarely, thank you for your question, of course.
1ヶ月凍結、これ実はですね、3月1日
So, suppose in March 1st, 25% tariff is started. If that comes in place, So the impact on the business up until March this year, there could be perhaps a 20 billion plus impact. That is the assumption as of today. However, it is a super short-term impact, right? Production in Mexico, Canada, we have those productions in there, and we will try to bring over those products from those two areas to the U.S. earlier, perhaps in February, and that is our actions in the short term. And in terms of tariff increase, again, in the big picture, of course, every year the situation is rather different. However, about 1/3 or higher than 1/3 of the businesses are using the components or products brought down from Canada and Mexico. The remainder of 2/3 are produced in the U.S. Therefore, our second highest local content of the production of the vehicles next to Ford in the United States. And the question is how effective would that policy will become. In fact, it is very difficult to visualize it. So at this moment, what we can do is to do something in the short term, which is about current production based on the current model mix and production in Mexico and Canadian factories. We could reorganize the product mix of the productions over there. This is something we can do short term, but in a midterm perspective, we could change the allocation of the model mix in different ways. We are preparing for that too. However, we have possible actions and the consideration for short-term, mid-term, long-term, so forth, but we don't really give a go at this moment for any of the actions on the table today. So, Fujimura-san, anything to add, please? So, again, the tariff. So what is the approximate estimate of the impact based on the simple calculation, based on the CBU complementary supplies? In the United States, we have the next to Ford sort of local content of the productions, meaning 60% of the products are produced in the U.S. We have some import from Japan as well, but 40% of those are supported by the production in Mexico and Canada, and of course, those two countries are also dependent on the U.S. too. And at the moment, we are talking about the sales in the U.S., which pertains to the production in Mexico and Canada. And last year, it was about 550,000. And Canada is dependent on the U.S. for 40,000, and Mexico is dependent on 20,000. That adds up to 610,000 units. And of course, that depends on the type of models. But suppose cost 30,000 for the cost of those cars, and then 25% of the tariff to that amount of the money, that where you can calculate impact on the cars. Plus, you can think about others like steels and aluminum, other miscellaneous materials and so forth. But that could be like a 4 digits, high end of the 4 digits figures, I suppose, as much as I could expect as an impact. And my colleague Aoyama-san said about our short, mid, long-term measures, actions, and when should we trigger to start those actions. Of course, we have to watch carefully what's going on, then decide when to start with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nishiyama. And next question, please. From Yomiuri Shimbun, Narashi-san, please. Narahashi from Yomiuri Shimbun newspaper. Thank you. About the motorcycle sales in Thailand is declining again from the last quarter. I think it's due to market conditions. And what impact does this have on your automobile business? That's my first question. And the second question about repurchasing your shares. Well, as of December, yes, there was the talk of the business integration with Nissan, and based on that, well, now that this has been scrapped, what is the reason for continuing to do the repurchase? Thank you, Mr. Narahashi. Well, about your first question. Well, the impact on automotive business, right? Yes. Okay. Yes. What is your outlook of the Thai market? And okay, I understand. Motorcycle sales in Thailand this year's numbers compared to last year is quite low. That's for sure. And this apparently is because of the credit. The difficulty in financing, and so that is the cause, that is clear. But about the motorcycle sales in Thailand, just looking at that, towards the end of last year, we have, for the low-income bracket, seen that the income tax was refunded, and the Thai motorcycle sales was better, but still it's quite significantly low year on year. Now about automobile, and related to the financing and difficulty to secure loans, I think this is continuing, and therefore the market, in both in the motorcycle and automotive market in Thailand, it has been on the decline for the past year or so. So, given such circumstances, however, as for the motorcycle business, well, the Thai market, we have an 80% market share, and therefore we want to maintain this share and wait for the market to recover, should I say. And as for the automotive business, on the macroscopic level, the loan screening is very tough, and it's difficult to secure loans. But in addition to that, for the automotive business, there are the Chinese OEM, which are introducing EVs. And I think that this has had an impact. But for battery EV, 20% within the market, about 20% or so are in the passenger vehicle segment, EVs, battery EVs. So it's not increasing, but it's rather sluggish in Thailand, the battery EVs. But we also have been making effort to sell BEVs, and we want to work harder next fiscal year. About your second question, about the repurchase of our shares and why we're continuing to do so, well, to begin with, on December 23rd, we announced that we will start consultation for possible business integration. And at the same time, this resolution was made and decided. But and while the talks continue, we try to ensure that this will not comprise any insider trading, and therefore that is the reason why we had that resolution and made the announcement. But it was just a matter of timing. And so I'm talking about the size of the repurchase. And this is accumulation of from the past, and we want to optimize our equity ratio, and therefore we believe that the timing at which this was resolved was just at the time when we're starting the business integration talks with Nissan, but the size of the repurchase and the schedule of the buybacks, well, it was high time for us to do it. So it was just
タイミングには若
a
干
matter of timing.
中身は一切
But
あくまで過去からの積み上がったものの
this was due to the need to optimize, and that was some coming from the past.
なんだろう買い続けることで
And we will continue to buy back, and nothing will change. Mr. Fujimura?
ちょっと数字で補足し
Well,
ます
let me add some numbers here.
12月末の段階で
As of the end of December, net cash, it was 3.8 trillion yen. And so it's about 2.5 months worth from the beginning of the month due to the Lehman crisis and others we have experienced. From that experience, 1 month worth of cash is something that we want to hold normally. But against that, it was 1.5 months worth, rather. It was 1.5 months worth, rather. And so we want to make appropriate our equity ratio. So PBR one-fold, that was our target. And instead of holding cash at hand, we want to return to our shareholders. And therefore, we have decided for a buyback of 1.1 trillion yen. And as Mr. Aoyama has explained, this was not because of the business integration talks with Nissan. This 1.1 trillion yen program, once it is completed, we will have a 1-month level of cash at hand. So we think that this is the appropriate level. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you.
はい、奈良橋様ありがとうご
So
ざいま
thank
した
you, Mr. Narahashi.
続いてのご質問です。
Next
日本経済新
question
聞
from Nikkei
野口様
Shimbun, Nihon
よろしくお願い
Keizai
し
Shimbun,
ます。
Mr. Noguchi, please.
日経新聞の野口です。
Noguchi from Nikkei.
聞こえてますでしょうか。
Can you hear me?
はい、聞こえております。よろし
Yes.
くお願いします。
Thank you.
ありがとうございます。今後の
So,
二輪事業と
motorcycle
四輪事
and
業を含め
automobile
た
businesses
営業利益
going
の考え
forward,
方に
what
つい
is
てお
the
聞かせください。
concept or ideas
当
for
面
the
ちょっと
operating profit
EV の開
for
発
them?
だった
For the
り
time
まあ
being,
発足費が先行
EV
して
development and
四輪事業という
SG&A
ものが
cost is
なかなか稼ぎに
prioritized,
くいというのがこの
and
数年見込
automobile
まれる中
profitability
で
is
まあ
not
二輪事業も
growing, maybe
電
suppressed
動
a
化
bit,
に伴い
and
どこまで
also
状
with the
況が出ていくのかというの
motorcycle
が
businesses
まあ
have
なかなかわからないけれ
electrification
ども
going
市
on.
場
So
環
how
境はいいという
much
こと
would
で
that
全体
grow,
の営業利益として
given
は
the
まあ
good
これから先そ
marketplace
の二
too?
輪と四輪のミックスを考えた
However,
ときに
overall, if you have a
乗
mixture
り
of the
続け
two
ていけるのか
businesses,
っ
do
て
you
いう
think
と
we
ころ
can
につい
grow
て
them
教
together
えてください。ちょっと少
continually
し
going
停
forward?
滞してしまうのか、
Or
ないし
would that
は
be
まだ
suppressed a
何
bit?
かしらの
Or
ところで
are there
増
any
やしていきたいところなのか、そのあたり
opportunities
で
to
す。以上
grow
です。
too? So that is the
は
question.
い、野口様ご質問ありが
Thank
とう
you,
ございます。
Mr. Noguchi.
まずですね、二輪の方
To
です
start
け
with
れ
the
ども、これは
motorcycle businesses.
まあ二輪の方についても四輪の方についても同じなんで
In
すけれ
fact,
ども、
it
ま
is
ずはそ
for the
の
automobile
EV 化の進
too.
展という
The
こと、
progress
その
of
スピード
battery
というものが
EVs
どういう
and
速度
the
で見ていく
progress
かということ
toward
が非
that.
常に今
I think the
その判
assumption
断
of
で
that
ですね、見極めが
speed
非常に
is
難しい
one
点
thing
になって
that
お
we
りま
have to
す。
mind
それ
about.
は
However, it is kind of
まあ
difficult
ご存
to
知のように
anticipate
特に
the
アメリカに
speed
お
of
け
that
る
at this moment
政策
because
の
of the
動
North
向であると
America
か含めてですね、
policy
非常に
situation,
不透明な今
and
状況です。
the things are
まあ
quite
想定
unclear
上では
now.
あるものの、まず二輪の方から申し
However,
ますと、
let's
二輪の
start
方の
with
電動化という
motorcycle
のはですね、
businesses.
今現在
Electrification of
よ
the
りこの比較という観
motorcycles
点でいうと、
is
実は
as
その
compared
開
to
発費の
that
増
of
加とかも含
automobiles.
めてですね、決してバ
We have
ランスからする
investment
と随
on
分
those
少
for
なめな開発費
motorcycle,
の増加
and
で現在は
the amount of the
取り組
investment
みを
is
して
not
います。
very
それは
big as
従来
compared to
の
that of
二輪事業
automobiles.
で
With
培って
that,
き
we are
た
successfully electrifying
エン
motorcycles
ジン、フレームみたいな
based
ところ
on
を
the
うまく組み合わ
past
せてやってい
technologies
く
of the
という
engines
よう
and
なこと
frames,
と同
and
じよう
we
な
are
取り組
working
みを
on
バッテリー以外のところ
similarly
でもやろう
with
と
the
しております
battery
ので、そうい
EVs.
った意味で
We
開発コ
best
ストそのものを
combine
かな
the
り抑えな
technologies
がら
and so
やって
forth.
います。
That way we
した
can
がってそういったことが先ほど四輪のところで言
restricted development cost, those successful. And then, as we said, with our automobiles, the battery EV cost for the cars is quite lot, but motorcycle and it is not that much. And looking at the global motorcycle market today, I think we still have the leeway, the growth potential too in India, Brazil. In a short while, we still have markets there, the Philippines, Pakistan, Bangladesh, for instance. We still have lots of market to grow into. In that regard, even with the ICE engine-based vehicles, we will be able to maintain a high level of the profitability for the motorcycle businesses for quite a while. And for the automobiles, we covered that a bit in the first question, but we have the gasoline-based engines, including hybrid, which have the 8% profitability today. And with the next generation hybrid comes in 2029 or 27 or 28, excuse me, those profitability will be growing into the 2 digits, above 10%. Therefore, so profitability or business of the battery EV, what would the business be like at this situation? And we are going to launch battery EVs newly going forward. And of course, we will have improvement as compared to the current situation in the United States. However, as I said, currently the visibility is quite poor. For instance, RRA, income tax deduction, so forth. We thought about LGES battery plants, so forth, would be utilized with the assumption of $7,500 reduction of the taxes based on the RRA. That was the original assumption. And now the question is what will become of eventually in this picture. So we can't really say what's going to happen. Therefore, it is very difficult to tell you the business outlook, but nevertheless, we'd like to maintain the high level of profitability with the ICE and current gasoline-based vehicles. In the meantime, with the battery-based EVs vehicles, we could be more flexible and be more flexible to react to the any given circumstances as we go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Noguchi. Next question, please. From Mr. Mizutori from Japan Automotive Daily, please. Mizutori, I'm speaking. Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you. I think you're muted now. We cannot hear you. Can you hear me now? Yes. Please. Thank you. The first question about China. So we see that there is a 40% year-on-year decline from April to December. And the E series, and that was thought to be promising, but there has been a bit longer time required for ensuring the quality. And therefore, locally, the HEV market seems to be developing. But how are you trying to make a recovery in China? That's my first question. And about the number, I want to make some confirmation. The full year, the capital expenditure is 70 billion yen or so less, I think. Is this due to the revisiting of the exchange rate? Is there anything that you postponed? in terms of your capex? Well, Ms. Doi-san, first of all, thank you very much for the question. Now, first about the ES series. Yes, the quality. Well, yes, in the preparation for mass production, I think that we were a month or two behind schedule, that is for sure. But there wasn't any significant problem. So, from March to April, we will be launching. So I think that this is the current plan. But the MSRP, the final decision has not been made, MSRP, and the current market, including the incentives, the situation is quite tough, and what pricing we should adopt, etc. These are things that we're still looking into right now. About the competitiveness, whether there is or is not competitiveness, as we are making announcements locally, the styling, the appearance, the interior, space, design, have all won a high appraisal. So we have a high expectation for our models. But yes, first the ES series. Well, as we have been announcing the past, the AS7, the ES series AS7. We'll start with that model, and then the sedan GT will be launched. And then after EA7, we'll have a 3-row seat large SUV launched. So we are preparing this model too. So this will be the series, and therefore with this we want to establish and expand the ES series. That is for the current battery EV plan. Meanwhile, as you know, the NEV ratio in 2024 calendar year, it was more than 46%. Next year, what will happen? Well, there are different views on this. But still, in our case, we are thinking 55% or more, so there will be an increase of new energy vehicles. But for the Premier Hybrid, we want to go ahead with that. We want to use the current Accord and CR-V and the sister plug-in hybrid vehicles. We have an incentive race right now, which is quite tough, so it's not selling that much. But other than that, we think that basically next fiscal year, no, maybe the year after, as I said, the next generation hybrid will start mass production in China. So it's FY27. Yes, FY27. So at that timing it will start, and we want to sell these models, but the NEV ratio is increasing, and therefore, if there's a 10% increase, then the non-NEV vehicles will decline. The market, the gasoline vehicle market, will decline by more than 10%. This is something that we cannot deny. So next fiscal year, looking at our unit sales, we have to assume what market changes will take place and put together our business plan. Yes, and I think that with the NEV ratio increasing, we want to sell our NEVs. That is the opportunity that we want to capture. About the second capex, yes, the decline of 70 billion is not really a delay, but instead it has been postponed slightly. What we are planning for the end of the fiscal year will be carried over to the next fiscal year, the beginning of next fiscal year. So that's about the change that we are seeing. The specifics, can I disclose the specifics? Well, the battery EV related investment, Canada related, there has been not really a delay, but we've just changed the timing. Okay, thank you.
はい、水鳥様、ありがとうご
Thank
ざ
you
い
very
まし
much,
た。
Mr. Mizutori.
続いてのご質問で
Next
す。
question
日経ア
from
ジアの竹
Nikkei
様、
Asia, Mr.
よろしくお願い
Take,
いたします。
please. Hello, Take from Nikkei Asia. Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you. Two questions. First one is the U.S. market automobiles. In the United States, Trump administration has started and upcoming BEV sales. What do you think how it would be? And well, hybrid demand is good today, but how do you assess the current EV and hybrid sales situation? How would you address current situation? And the other question is Southeast Asian region. Hybrid and plug-in hybrid are well accepted, very popular there, I heard. And do you have a plan to be more engaged in the businesses for them? So please share with us your assessment and how you are going to do about your businesses in there. Thank you very much, Take-san, for your question. So Trump's administration started eventually, and then as of now, well, the things keep changing minute by minute. But our stance is to stay flexible and be able to be agile in reacting to the situation. But as of now, Canada and Mexico and its tariff situation, the current interest point is around that. And aluminium and steel tariff about 25% on those would provide some impact, of course. However, those materials like aluminium or steels, it is not too difficult to find out our solution because we have quite a bit of procurement within the country in the U.S. A part of the air supplies could be from Canada, from Japan as well, for aluminum and steel. However, I don't think it is very difficult to address that situation of the tariff for those two materials. But 25% of this on CBU from Mexico and Canada, if that tariff policy continues for half a year, 2-3 years, for instance, it will be a difficult situation. So our action might be different depending on how we would assess the upcoming situations like that. And as of now, like I said before, $7,500 things. How would that be eventually? And also, the state of California is having this ZEV regulation. And how would that be changing under the Trump administration, the ZEV and other regulation in California? In fact, from the model year 26, we are to incorporate the ZEV requirements, and then under this regulation, we need to sell more battery EVs. However, given the current situation, it is quite difficult to achieve that requirement for the regulation. And I wouldn't say this is perfectly linked with the Trump's administration intention. However, the ZEV-related regulation will have to change as accordingly, perhaps. But as for the hybrid,
比較的アフォーダブルなお値段で
affordably priced hybrid can be available with more variety for the choice of the consumers. That is what's happening today as a fact. And in case of Honda, this year, about 400,000 hybrid cars to be sold in this fiscal year ending March 25. And next year, it will be a little more, maybe a little less than 500,000 units of a hybrid, we expect. Therefore, this year we have 25% of hybrid cars out of all types. That is our prospect for this year. And next year, 500,000 units in North America for hybrid. Therefore, in a global context, this year the volume will be a bit less in China, a bit less hybrid over there too. But this year, I would say 900,000 hybrid cars for this current year, and next year it will be more than 1 million. That's our assessment as of today. And what is the benefit for Honda? I think that was your first question, I suppose. I didn't understand the intent of your question, really. But about Southeast Asian countries, the demands for hybrid in Thailand and in Indonesia market, the demands for that is mounting. In Thailand, the hybrid ratio is growing. Let's say 30% or so hybrid, I suppose. Indonesia, the competitor is going ahead, and we are a little behind. However, the ratio out of the entire market will be like, of course, with the battery EVs a bit growing, 6% in Indonesia. Hybrid is about 8%. So out of the entire market, they are still a small percentage, and Honda is a little behind as of now. But next year, we will be more aggressive launching and selling the hybrid cars in Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize for the unclear question, but when I talked about benefit, I was saying that we are seeing an increase in demand for HEV, hybrid, and therefore I thought that there might be an opportunity for Honda to sell more hybrids. So in that context, well, you said that there will be an increase in the United States of some 100,000 units. So I think that you've answered my question. Thank you. And one clarification, if I may, about the North America market. You said the ZEV regulation will become reality, but what is the realistic number? And also the hybrid ratio. Well, this fiscal year is 25%, I think. But next fiscal year, if it were to increase, what will be the ratio for next fiscal year? Can you add that explanation, please? Yes. About the hybrid ratio. Well, this year it's about 25%. Next fiscal year, there will be an increase of 100,000 in North America, but I think the ratio will be 35%, a little more, maybe. About 35%, I guess. And about the ZEV regulation, I was talking about the industry on the whole. I think it will be difficult to achieve that regulation standard, but currently, looking at the situation, the regulation itself might become something more realistic. That was what I was trying to say here. So I really don't have any specifics to talk about here. We're just thinking that the regulation might be loosened to a more realistic number. Thank you.
はい、竹様ありがとうござい
Ms.
ました。
Take, thank you very much.
それではお時間になりましたの
And
で、
it's time for us to
これをも
end.
ちまして
And with this, we would like to end our financial results briefing session. As for the materials, they will be posted on our website.
本日はご参加いただきま
Once
して
again,
ありがとうございました
thank you for your participation.